In thinking about what we wanted to come in here and talk with you about today, and first of all, thank you to Ayzenberg and all the folks here for inviting us to come speak. We first started thinking about mobile and mobile video, and we're going to talk about that as well. But I think it's probably as interesting to think about the evolution of communication overall and what's happening as a result of the mobile devices that are in our pockets here, because we're in an amazing time of transformation here. We're at a time when you can wear a watch on your wrist that is twice as fast and twice as powerful as the Cray 2, which was the most powerful supercomputer when I was a kid growing up in the 80s. And while sometimes the price points of some of these wearables seem expensive, $350 for an Apple Watch versus I think the Cray 2 computer in today's pricing would be about $32 million. So it's a pretty fair trade. But you know what we've also seen is the fact that mobile has accelerated the ability for companies to compete and to compete pretty aggressively. I think if we were all to start a business today, most of the businesses we start would have something to do with mobile in mind. I also think that if we think about the environment that we're in, the business environment, business has always been competitive, but this is a really hyper-competitive time. The average time that a company spends on the Fortune 500 right now is 15 years. And if you ask the editors of Fortune, they'd say that time is condensing, it's shrinking because of the competition. There are things like mobile devices and our ability to transform entire industries like transportation and communications and so on, the list goes on, that have been transformed and disrupted from mobile have helped accelerate that, and I don't think that we're going to see that going away anytime soon. It's important to think, though, as marketers and as we think about for brands, that it's easy to get caught up in processors and devices and platforms, but at the end of the day, it's always been about one thing, and it's been about people. And mobile has accelerated our transition from a mass media world to a personally relevant one, from a world where marketers reach people using TV and print and radio based purely on context, to one where brands create for individuals based on passions and interests and actual behaviors. And this has essentially raised the bar on what creativity means and the inputs that go into it. You heard about, it's tough to come to a conference like this, not hear about data and all the inputs that go into it, because I think that to create in this world, you need to be able to use strong data and insights to connect with people and essentially be additive to the experience, because attention today is earned. And I think that brands that don't think about that are not going to be able to compete as well as brands that do. And ultimately, when we think about the word of what we're trying to do, we're trying to provide value. And I think that there's an expectation now from brands and from marketers with the storytelling that we do that it provides the same type of value to people that the products and services that we market have always had to provide. So I think that we need to think about how to rise to that challenge. And in rising to that challenge, we need to understand people, and we need to understand some of the themes and trends going on. So today I'm going to talk about three things that we expect, and there are three hard trends that we're seeing in communication. And then I'm also going to go in a little bit in terms of how some brands are addressing that, and then what Facebook as a company is building to support and enable you guys as you look at these trends of immediate, expressive, and immersive communication. So we'll start with the expectation of immediate communication. So we all know that our mobile devices are with us all the time. You don't need to hear that story from me, 3 hours a day. And I'm pretty sure that if we looked around at the people in this room, and I know some of you, it's probably double that. And I think the younger you get in audiences that have smartphones, you tend to spend more time with it. But it's also important to remember that what people are doing with their phones is a lot different than what we were doing with them 5-6 years ago, and it's not really about getting on a lot of phone calls. It's about the different types of communications that we have. And messaging apps are at the front and center of this because they provide people fast and personal means of communication. We see today that 1.4 billion people are using messaging apps. And by 2018, we see that number is going to be over 2 billion. So, and as we see more people get online and get connectivity throughout the world, this trend is going to continue. And to hit this point home a little bit further, it's important to think about the fact that 6 of the 10 most downloaded apps globally are messaging apps. So this is a trend that is here, and from a brand perspective, we have to think about how we're going to live up to the expectation that there is immediate communication, and what is that value that we can bring. So from a Facebook perspective, there are millions of interactions between people and businesses leveraging their Facebook page. But one of the things that we're working on is how do we leverage the platform that is Facebook Messenger, and that's where we're starting. Facebook Messenger has over 800 million people that use Messenger on a monthly basis. So how do we leverage that platform for brands to not only be able to have one-on-one conversations, but maybe in some parts of the world it's also about how we transact through Messenger as well. We've seen, one thing to look up if you're interested in this and more information on this is that Deloitte just published a white paper on the work that Rogers, who's Canada's largest telco, the work that they did in integrating Messenger into their digital customer service channel. And what they found, and this is just the top line, is that there was a 65% improvement in customer satisfaction with their digital customer service by engaging with people directly on Messenger. We've also seen, and this is a bit anecdotal, this is very early days, that there are companies that have already seen and proved out the fact that there's better lifetime value with people that they can engage with directly in Messenger than through other business channels that they have. We had our F8 conference just a week ago, and one of the things that we talked about was a few enhancements to Messenger. We rolled out what are called Messenger bots, so your ability as a brand to be able to build a utility right there within Messenger. It could be as simple as receiving news or the weather through Messenger. One example is HP, Hewlett-Packard, rolled out a print bot, and the idea there is you could send a document to just like you would send a picture to your friend, you could send it to their print bot, and it could automatically be printed on your printer. So that's just one example. Another thing that actually didn't get as much press, but I think is actually pretty interesting as well, is our rollout of Messenger links. So Messenger links are the ability for a brand to actually create a URL link that you could put on your website or wherever you want, and customers could click on that link and automatically send you a message with Messenger. So it's kind of like a shortcut to message with you directly. So let's talk about expressive communication as well, because we know that an emoji or a GIF or any type of visual expression is worth 1,000 words. And we see that people are more and more, as connectivity has gotten better, are expressing themselves through visuals. We see an explosion of that across all of our platforms, and we'll talk about some of the things that we're doing to build and help people and brands leverage this. So one of the things, so not only is it fun, like those things are fun to send to people, and I know that my daughters are very proficient in tracking down any device that's unlocked that happens to be sitting around and then firing off emojis and things to people, and I don't know if anybody else has that same experience in their house. But it's also a people-based solution, because it is way easier for us to take a look at an image and actually decipher something that's going on and get information from it than it is text. So we're going to do a little test here, and you have to look up here because I can only do it once. So we're going to try and test this case that MIT says that you only need to see an image for 13 milliseconds to identify it. Ready? What did you see? Oh. I can only do it once. All right, who wants to? Right there.
Blue Volkswagen van.
What else do you notice about it?
It was old. It was rusty.
It's pretty good. That's awesome. So look, if I would have put a list of attributes of that image on the screen and flash it up there for a second, it would, you guys would not have no idea what you saw. I wouldn't have either. But there is no way for us to actually be able to consume the amount of, there's 4 billion emails sent per day globally. There's no way for us to be able to consume all that information without being able to quickly look at a room or a 13 milliseconds of a Volkswagen van and be able to quickly assess it and learn that way. So it is being able to communicate this way is a people-based solution. It's how our brains are really built. So we're thinking of ways that we can help support that. Instagram has created standalone apps to help people express themselves creatively. And on the screen here you see on the left is Hyperlapse, which is a way to create time-lapse videos really easily in the palm of your hand. In the center is Layout, which takes a handful of images, stitches them together into one single image. And then on the right-hand side is Boomerang. So it's not a GIF, it's not a photo. It actually takes 5 photos, stitches them together, and then creates a backwards and forwards type of video experience. These are just the beginning of experiences and things that we're focused on creating to help people express themselves in the ways that they want to, in the ways that are valuable. And as a brand, I would also remember, you can spend thousands of dollars, and you should at certain times, in creating creative. There's also, these tools are available for you as well, just like they're available for people. I know a lot of you here are already using them. So it's just one way that we're thinking about this and addressing the fact that people want to have expressive communication and want easy access to it. Speaking of Instagram, so Instagram is a community essentially based on this. Instagram has risen in popularity because it's so powerful in its ability to help people express themselves creatively. Instagram is now over 400 million people worldwide, and we've seen a continued use of photos and different new ways to express yourself on Instagram. We've also seen a 40% increase in video consumption over the last 6 months or so on Instagram. But if you want to think about the place that was essentially born in the palm of the hands of people that want to express themselves creatively, I think Instagram's a good example. By the way, this caramel apple one, I don't know if anyone's been looking at this. Like, this is off the hook. This is basically a 15-second video that could help you be the rock star of the next kid's birthday party you go to, or any party you go to. You don't need words in here. You don't need sound. It's 15 seconds, and I can't wait to do that. But if you spend time on that search function within Instagram, which is really the discovery tab of Instagram, you're going to stumble across things like this and find this, and that's what makes it so powerful. So within Instagram specifically, we've evolved the advertising opportunities for letting brands tap into this creativity. So we started with Instagram ads a couple years ago, and we launched them. We were focused on high-level brand awareness objectives. We launched it with photo ads, is what you see on the far left. Then we evolved it to sight, sound, and motion. Now, we announced recently that you can run up to 60-second videos now on Instagram. We know that the most effective videos are shorter, but that doesn't mean that every piece of content is a good fit for that. So, and then the carousel ad unit was something that we rolled out recently on Instagram as well. And we learned a couple things from doing this. One thing that we learned from the carousel, because we weren't sure if people would want to actually start swiping sideways in Instagram. Carousel allows you to put 4 images in one ad unit, essentially. And so you could start with this incredible outfit I'm wearing, and then as you started swiping left and right, you could see, like, where I got my shoes, and dive in on a specific product. But what we learned is that the people that swiped to the second part of the carousel, 2/3 of them actually swiped all the way through. So it was pretty clear and pretty early we were able to find out this was something users are really interested in. The other thing we did with the carousel ad unit is we put a call to action at the end, a learn more button. And the community on Instagram was very interested in learning more about products that they were able to engage with, and especially if they were able to see multiple images. So those were 2 hypotheses we had, but our business does not work if we don't actually learn from people. So as we learn from people, then we're able to actually keep creating experiences like this that can help brands express themselves in ways that can help drive your business objectives. Because at the end of the day, that's why you're marketing. So finally, I want to talk about the expectation of immersive communications. So if we think about the way that people have shared over the past 5 years, if we look just back 5 years ago, the vast majority of sharing on the Facebook platform was with text. And then it evolved to photos. And then it evolved to videos. And I think in the future, we're seeing VR and AR as platforms that will be front and center within the newsfeed. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the Facebook newsfeed is the center of discovery, and it's a place for personal connection. But it's also a great place to express yourself and learn more about things. as we see our 1.5 billion people that are on Facebook every month and over 1 billion people a day starting to share differently, we want to build tools and the structure in place to allow them to do that and express themselves and share with whoever they want in ways that is most comfortable and relevant for them. Let's talk about mobile videos specifically. So this has exploded over the past 4 years. This is about the industry overall, a 6x increase from 2012 to 2015. Nearly half of all video views globally are on mobile devices, period. Mobile isn't just an emerging video platform. Mobile is the video platform, and brands need to be thinking about that, and they should be getting way out ahead of this if they want to be able to compete in this hyper-competitive environment. If we're looking at Facebook specifically, we've followed suit as well. Because, look, the proliferation of smartphones has driven those circles that we just had on the last slide. But we've seen in less than 2 years, video views increase 8 times. So those are daily video views, by the way, 8 billion. 100 million hours a day are now watched, and this is a Facebook platform alone. But brands are in this crawl, walk, run stage right now. And ultimately, you want to be like Ariel, right? You want to be where the people are. But I think that a lot of brands are not quite creating for mobile yet, and I don't know what they're waiting for, but they're actually still in a process of creating for other channels and then trying to figure out how to translate and how to convert their assets to mobile screens. Because frankly, on mobile screens, the environment is different. First of all, not all video is consumed with sound on. In fact, much of it is consumed with sound off, and that could be because you're watching a video right now. It could be because you're on the subway and you actually might have headphones on, but it's just really loud and you can't hear anything. There could be so many different use cases, and you need to create for that. We also know that people make decisions way faster on mobile about what type of content they're going to consume. 1.7 seconds to be specific versus 2.5 seconds in desktop. So as somebody's scrolling through their feed and making a decision on what type of content to consume, you probably want to be thinking about that when you're thinking about what to put up front and center in your ads. So I'm going to show you 2 examples of brands that are in that middle stage, kind of the crawl, walk, run stage. They've actually done a good job of transforming existing assets to work in the mobile environment. So the first one is from Trident, and we're going to take a look at the original TV commercial. We're not going to look at any of these with sound. And then we're going to look at how it was then transformed for digital and for feed, which is a mobile-based environment. Facebook is a mobile company. So as you can see, this video, we know there's something funny going on with an animal in his pants, and then at the end of the day, we know Trident fights cavities. But what we probably miss when we're watching that is the fact that this is a play off the 4 of 5 dentists recommend, and what about the 5th dentist who doesn't recommend it? So what are we going to do with this content to actually make it work in mobile? Because this was created for an entirely different channel. So you don't have to just give up and say, I didn't create for mobile, but you can actually, there are things that you can do. So in this case, they brought captions into it. They brought visuals that help make sense. They brought the brand up front, and this is the result. And it's the subtle little tweaks that make it much more effective in the mobile environment. I'll show you one more. This one's, and I'll play them both at the same time, I think. This one is from Lincoln, and essentially they have an asset in Matthew McConaughey. But if you look at the ad on the left is the original TV ad, and that TV ad, the Lincoln brand was not up front. It took too long to get to Matthew McConaughey. You probably didn't have any idea what he was saying. So they did a few things. They brought the brand up front. They brought McConaughey in a lot faster. They put the captions in there. And they took an asset that was created for another channel, and they actually tweaked it for mobile. Now, I do want to say this is good work from both of the creative agencies that worked on this business to try and take an asset and transition it for the mobile screen. But truthfully, we talked earlier about the competitive nature that we're in and the fact that if we were to start a company today, I know for me, if Facebook was started today, it would be a mobile company, period. And then we made that transition. It was a little bit painful, but we did it in a pretty fast and effective way. And I think that most of you would start mobile companies today. You shouldn't wait to do this for your advertising. If you wait, I just don't think that's the right way to go. And you want to be like Ariel. You don't want to be like Ursula. And you want to be authentic. You don't want to be like Vanessa either. You want to be authentic. Do you know I have 2 girls at home? Can you guess that? We can talk about that later. So what are we doing to support this and to support the new way that people are consuming video and the fact that video consumption has exploded across all of our platforms over the past 2 years? So one of the first things we've done is we've launched a new video section on Facebook. And it's a place to discover video content that is relevant to you, discover things that your friends are sharing, and also surface additional suggestive videos that may be a good fit for you. Facebook builds for people first, and then we then look at what people are doing, and then we help brands integrate their marketing into that to provide real value to people. So this is a big step that we made, and something that is actually going to be, I think, a good center and a hub for a lot of our video efforts. One of the big pieces of this, and one thing that we're getting a lot of questions about, is live video. Who here has gone live on Facebook with a video? It's pretty good. I was at the NAB last 2 days down in Vegas and had some really fascinating conversations with a lot of people in the broadcasting industry who are having varying levels of success in adapting their business and monetizing their business in mobile, to put it mildly. But asked that same question in a room about this size, and no hands went up. So this is, I think that what we're seeing with Facebook Live is an extremely sticky platform, essentially, for broadcasting live. It allows you to go live in a matter of seconds. I could pull out my phone, and we could go live right now, and you could go live to whatever audience you choose. And people seem to really love it. I'll show you a couple use cases of it. So the first one is going to be from the perspective of a content creator, and the second one is going to be from the perspective of people. So this is from the perspective of The Rock, and it essentially shows that if you're a celebrity or you have the Facebook Mentions app, like what would it look like for you to be able to go live, and what is that experience like? One of the things that people love about it is the fact that not only can you have this live experience, but the questions come up a couple times, but this is an on-demand world, so is going live really the be-all, end-all? Well, the cool thing is that this content is saved them for later, and it's available for brands. So if you were able to create something really cool that was live, it doesn't mean that it only could be consumed at that time. Your friends and the social context is built into everything you do on Facebook. So if your friends start watching and commenting on something, of course, it's going to be a lot more likely that it's going to be surfaced for you. And then, again, as a person or an individual or a brand or a journalist going live, you're able to get feedback in real time. You're able to really engage with people. There are a handful of brands doing this today. This isn't an advertising product. This is something that's built for people. But if I think about some of the brands that have done it, Chevy launched a car with Facebook Live. We see journalists using it. There was some situations where people were going live inside caucuses and other things that are really live events that are kind of mysteries to the general public. I'll give a nod to John Ledger at T-Mobile, the CMO over there, who's a very early adopter of Facebook Live. He's not only been strolling through Central Park interviewing marathon runners, but he is also, he does a slow cooker Sunday, literally cooking in his house, and goes live every Sunday. So there's so many different ways to use this. Here's President Obama using this, and he's giving people an inside look at the White House, and you can see how it's a really immersive experience. When you like something, your head shows up in the broadcast, and your chat head pops there, and then your reaction that you had shows up in there, your comments scroll through. It's a really engaging experience, and we're early days, but we're very excited about it. At F8 last week, we rolled out three enhancements I'll mention with live. The one is the live reactions, which you just saw. The second thing is ability to go live within an actual group. So let's say you have a group of people that really like skateboarding, and you decide, I only want to show my skateboarding video that I went live with to that group. You can do that. And then with events as well. So if you're holding a big event like this, and it was a Facebook event, like you set it up through Facebook, you could then press a button and go live, and just the people in this room would have access to that broadcast. Two more things, and then we'll go to a couple questions. 360 video is something that comes up a lot, and it's just such a great immersive experience. I will mention 3 things you should be keeping in mind as you're creating 360 videos. Number 1, build for mobile first. If you don't get that part, I didn't really do my job here today, but build for mobile first when you think about 360 videos. Number 2, think about spatial storytelling. Think about the environment that you're in. And number 3, reward movement. My daughter and I were watching this it was a preview for a new VR animated series over the weekend called Invasion. And it did a really good job of having visual and audio cues to get you to turn your head and reward that person, the viewer, for looking around and actually looking at the 360 environment. So there is a lot more to come on that, and that's pretty early days. Facebook Canvas is something that we've built out. Has anyone here built or worked on a project on Facebook Canvas? A few people here. It's a really immersive experience that we've built that is, think of it as really a full funnel marketing opportunity that can exist in seconds when somebody clicks on it, expands to exist right there in the news feed. There's a call to action at the end. There are a lot of things you can do with it. And it's a lot easier to build than you think, because we realize that a lot of people struggle with the load times and the experiences on their own mobile sites. So we wanted to build something that lives right there within Newsfeed that can help you leverage the power of mobile and the ways that you can do storytelling and bring people through an experience from the top of the funnel all the way to the bottom. And finally, VR and AR. This is where a lot of this is going, but it's not going there today or tomorrow for brands and for advertising, but there will be opportunities, and we should be thinking about them, because as we like to say at Facebook, the journey is 1% finished, and in a lot of these cases, in terms of immersive communication, we're really just getting started. So I want to thank you guys for having me here today. I hope this at least got some thought starters going for you, and I think we may have time for a question or two.
Yeah, we got time for a question or two. Anybody out here have a question? After that, right over there. Actually, we'll get this one over here first. Stand up, say who you are, and ask a question.
Hi, I'm Kyland. Thanks so much for all the incredible information. I had a question regarding mobile, and if you guys have any sort of fear of I don't know if it's productivity or what exactly they call it. I noticed that I've even caught myself and friends that are using the mobile apps where all of a sudden you could do this crazy thing and you could talk and send it via text, and then that text is then talked back to the other individual in the receiving end, which sounds like a roundabout, more complicated way to have a conversation. And so is that something you guys are encouraging, or is that something that ultimately there might be some sort of confusion around, and how do you guys look at that type of communication?
So I think the question is around just kind of the way that people are using text and using the kind of forms of immediate communication that are kind of outside the bounds of just like picking up the phone call or like standard way of talking. Is there a concern around that? I don't know if we spend a lot of time thinking, I can't speak for our product team, but I don't know if we spend a lot of time thinking or being concerned with the ways that people want to communicate. Like we put the tools out there, and then we see what works, and then we adapt from there. We definitely see the visual communication piece is a really big thing, and it's a really big piece of it. But I don't think it's a big concern for us right now. Thank you.
Question over here at the center table, or near the center table.
Hey there, my name's Ty Flandro. At the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned the desire or the need for personalized communication. And it seems like with some of the great targeting tools that you guys have and ability to really key in on what's going to motivate a specific person, it seems like it creates an issue from a content creation standpoint, the ability for brands to create the tonnage of content that speaks at a one-to-one level.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to, tools that you guys are creating or brands that you're seeing doing it right to create that one-to-one content versus I think some of the examples you showed were really still one-to-many. So wondering about that.
Yeah, it's a really great question, because I think that this is something that has plagued the digital space for a while, where targeting and data and your ability to actually partner with like a Facebook on using our audience insights tool to really understand your different segments of your target and then create for it. I have definitely seen in the last few years many projects that started with this ambitious goal, and there was this incredible targeting grid and all these aspirations, and then the 2 days before the campaign launches, we find out that there's one creative. And so guess what everyone's going to see. But it was great work on the targeting side of it. So I think all of us in marketing have felt that and have seen that. And so I think there's two pieces. There's number one, it's getting further upstream and understanding what the expectations are for whatever the project that you're going to work on, making sure that everybody's on board, not just the media team and not just the creative team, but those two teams need to be working together in tandem, and that's a big piece of the disconnect. I also look, some content creation is very expensive. So I think that we need to be really honest and think about like what level of expense should go into creating content to be able to support projects like this, because you can probably have a really effective campaign by just creating 2 or 3 or 4 segments. Maybe you don't need 15 or 25 different segments. One example of a company that did an interesting job of it, but they went big on their segmentation was Lexus. So Lexus had a campaign, there's a white paper written about this, where they had 165 different segments in 16 markets. Someone's going to do that math, not me. But that's a lot of different segments. And there were tons of video. It was very lightweight video that they created for it. And it was extremely effective. But that's like on the far end of the spectrum. And I think that there's a happy medium. I think if you wind up with 2 or 3 different pieces of content for 4 or 5 different segments in a given campaign, like you have a good start. But the other piece of that is, and I know I'm wrapping up here, making sure you're creating to take advantage of the power of sequential storytelling and be able to tell people, if someone does watch one piece of video content, what's the next thing you're gonna get in front of that person 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. Having that plan far out, I know that's now I'm saying make more content, but that's important as well.
Paul, thank you very much.
Great, thank you guys.
That was great. Fascinating.
Thanks.